Happy Friday, happy tax day. Hello, what's good? I am in this place that I just don't care. No, I'm just kidding. What's good, y'all? How y'all feeling? BryTay podcast back once again. I think I want to make sure I probably did another one earlier this week, but I'm not sure. I just wanted to go ahead and ship it this one because there have been quite a few stories that have gone down in the sports world. I'm looking at my tabs, I'm looking at my setup, I'm looking at everything that has occurred, and I will be the first to admit that this has been a pretty epic week for sports. It's nearing we still have a few days left. I probably could have jumped into the whole golf realm and tennis action, but I'm kind of a little indifferent about that. Sorry, I'm sitting here supposed to be prepping and having this all going. Like, I know it's like, well, where'd the music go? But yeah, I got my music usually in the background. I will go ahead and get this set up again because I think last week it worked. Let the fan do his bit because I told y'all I'm not dying in the middle of a podcast. It's not gonna happen. But anyway, happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing all right today. I do have quite a queue of topics to go into. I know that there has been a major transition in the sports industry. Two milestones were accomplished by a team and an athlete, and coincidentally, me being a numbers guru, it all just kind of happened at like the perfect time. So I have tabs for a few of these topics, but most of them I will kind of let speak for themselves. A few of them I will jump into, and as a matter of fact, let me get one prepared because I feel like I want to make sure that we're keeping this all in line and in accordance with how exciting and how eventful the sporting industry has become. So the first topic is on Wednesday. Props to ESPN because ESPN pulled off a major cheat code. They were able to not only get the game for they got the main game on ESPN to be the Warriors in Memphis, and then on ESPN2 as an added bonus you got to see Kobe's farewell game. It was his final game as a Laker or as his final game in the NBA. 20 great years, 5 championships, not sure how many MVPs, multiple All-Star appearances, first NBA, All-NBA. He's made a few defensive NBA teams. He pretty much had quite the resume for the NBA. If my memory serves me correct, he is number 3 all time in scoring. Don't hold me to that. I would have to kind of do a blind fact check in the midst of this podcast to make sure I give you the correct information with that. Let me make sure before we just go out here throwing stats, because anybody who knows me knows I don't like to just throw numbers. Yes, he is currently 3rd. He had 3,000 points to go to get to Karl Malone, and I think he probably saw it better to just go ahead and sit down somewhere, take several seats. It's okay. You don't need a 21st year. No one's gonna be hurt if you didn't play. I know that's kind of like a harsh way of me saying it, but Kobe ended his career on a very high note. Like I said, I'm all about coincidences or coincidental things, however you want to term it. But he did score 60 points in his final game against Utah. It was at the Staples Center. LA set it up perfect. On one end of the floor, they had number 8. At the other end of the floor, they had number 24 to represent both numbers he wore during his career. Numbers guru. I'm just going to go ahead and throw some stuff out there. It was coincidental because he looked up to Michael Jordan. He respected Michael Jordan as a player. So in the fourth quarter, it was just a unique situation that he scored 23 points in the fourth quarter to get 60. And then as an added bonus, he decided to go ahead and when he first started in the NBA, his first point was a free throw. So for him to get his 60th point as a free throw just was even more coincidental, and it worked out even better. So I must admit, he definitely did it the right way. I mean, he played, one of the referees he talked to during the game said, we would have a discussion about a call or a play, but you never like took it personal or went into like quote unquote aggro mode about it. So I think that to me confirms that he definitely left a mark on the league, on, you know, players and coaches and things of that sort. So props to Kobe, you know, cheers, salute, yada yada, all that jazz. And, you know, hopefully this isn't the last time we see him in the NBA, because I think I feel like he's gonna have some hands on with the NBA. It's just a matter of what and where he finds his niche in the league. You know how that goes. You have to kind of, you know, let yourself, as we call it, let your soul glow and find where you get in, where you can fit in. So I wanted to go into that topic and that story. And he also left a mark on the floor. A mark. He went over to the number 24 and signed on the 2 Laker for life, and then on the 4 he signed his name, if I'm remembering this correctly. But it was definitely a moment that, I mean, they had media there. Media did not leave until he left. That's how into this they were and how embracing of it. Shaq even went up and gave him a big hug, dap, like, I was expecting you to get 50. You surprised me. You got 60. So, I mean, props to you on that. But I think he wanted to definitely go out and just show that he still has it. I mean, I think now for him, it's kind of like your body battling reality. Whereas if you go out and play, you can tell players or tell people where to do stuff. And I can tell you, hey, if you go to this spot and you set up at this place, you can get these points easily. But me going out there and personally doing it, not happening. Like, I'll admit that now. I'm only 33, and there are times when I play, and it's more of a mental play than it is a physical play. But now I'm working to get back into shape so I can at least still attempt to keep up, not with the intent of trying to be a great player or a superstar anytime soon. Not happening. So I've given a great, phenomenal 7 minutes to just the Kobe story. So we can go ahead, and if anybody else has any more they want to add to that, they're welcome to. I have no problem with that. But I wanted to at least get that story off the ground before I get into any of my other topics. The next topic that I thought I would go ahead and dive into involves the Golden State Warriors. Because like I said, on Wednesday, they also played as well. Like I said, ESPN was making sure they got their money's worth on that night, because they could get it from either angle. Pause. But it was definitely a monumental moment. They played against Memphis, and it pretty much, Memphis didn't stand a chance. Golden State came out with the intent of definitely trying to dominate the game. The main thing that I think about it, the main presentation before the game, Michael Jordan had a conversation with Green. I don't want to mess up his name. I feel like I'm going to anyway. Draymond Green, thank goodness. The joy of having the access to the web right in front of you. But hold on, sorry. I hope you all didn't hear that, because if you did, my ears just hurt. But anywho, Draymond Green was told, you have to win this game. This is not like, if you go out here and play the last game and lose it and end up tying, it defeated the whole purpose of getting this far. So I think they went out with a message and definitely showed that they deserved to earn their credit as having the best record in the history of basketball. Could they have won more games? Probably, but I don't think it's a big deal. They beat them, they got one win over them, so that was the main thing. So for all of us who have been having a conversation about will they break the record, were they going to break the record, they've broken the record, so here we are. So step 1 has been accomplished. Now step 2 is the more important theory, which is actually getting the championship. And I feel like nothing's going to really stop them. Coincidentally enough, and that's kind of going into it. Well, before I mention the playoff run, I found it to be coincidental. And this is another one of my numbers moments. Golden State broke the record. Oddly enough, Steve Kerr was their coach, or is their coach. And uniquely enough, he was on the 95-96 Bulls team, who had the 72-10 record. Numbers to smack you in the face with as well. It was 20 years since that record even had a chance of being competed with. So that puts a lot into perspective. And I think the way the season went for them this year, when they started, you could kind of tell they were very driven and very hungry to get this accomplished, because they didn't let anyone or anything stop them from reaching their goal. They started on a very strong streak. There was all this speculation about Luke Walton. Was he really coaching the team and all this other stuff? I feel like they kind of were what you call a self-sufficient team, where they had coaches and they were kind of there to do their part. But for the most part, these guys could kind of play. They have a young team, but they have a decent amount of veterans now. Like Iguodala, you really don't realize it. Iguodala's like in his 30s now, so he's definitely played quite a while in the NBA. If I'm not mistaken, he came out either in 01 or 02, and has not looked back at his career at all, and has been a pretty solid, durable player in the NBA. So they have all the pieces there. It's just a matter of them doing what they did last year and just making an easy run. Is it possible there could be a repeat? I'm not sure, because that's now going to send me into the playoff picture. It is, let's see, this looks old because this is an old one. So I am going to do a cheat code because I think I found one online and I want to make sure I have the correct information and not just throw stuff out here and it be completely wrong. Because a lot of people know I'm very fact-based compared to just verbal-based or whatever you want to call it. So these are the division winners. I want to know who's playing who's playing who. There has to be a way for me to get. Okay, here we go. Sweet. All right. Opening round trips. All right, there we go. Opening round tips off on Saturday. So here are your playoff pictures currently for the NBA. You have Cleveland playing Detroit. You have Toronto against the Pacers. You have Miami against Charlotte. And you have Atlanta against Boston. I had to look at the last one because I was confused. Because I was like, wait, Chicago didn't make the playoffs, which is still strange because they had a coach that could have got them there, but that's neither here nor there. And then in the Western Conference, you have Golden State against Houston, Spurs against Memphis. It's going to be tough for Memphis because Memphis is going into the playoffs pretty much depleted with none of their pieces or none of their resources. None of their main guys. I know Gasol's out for the season. Conley's out for the season. I think they went ahead and just said, hey, we're a 7 seed. Yeah, we're in the playoffs. Cool, but we're not going to run everybody. The Thunder against Dallas is going to be interesting. The tough part for the Thunder is the Thunder has to play against Golden State in some realm. But they got to get past San Antonio first. So there's that factor as well. And then there's the Clippers in Portland. Keep an eye on that series. And I'm only saying this now because don't be surprised. And this is a reckless forecast, but an aggressive theory because it has happened before. Do not be surprised if the Clippers get knocked out of the playoffs against Portland and Doc Rivers' name comes up as being possibly released as a coach. So I don't know. I mean, it's up in the air. It could go either way. If I personally had to take my choice from both sides, I don't see really anybody beating Cleveland because when the playoffs comes, they turn on another switch. Now, granted, Tyronn Lue is the coach. He's not really going to be coaching. It's almost similar to the Golden State situation, but the only difference is Tyronn Lue really doesn't. He has a team, but it's almost like they don't like. You don't know who can really coach them because LeBron has already made it clear he's not coachable. Sorry. If you're hearing this podcast, I'm just telling it like it is. It's not even from hearsay and speculation. It's just from observation. Like, he has his way of how he wants to play and how to win. It works and it has its formulas, but the interesting and most amazing part about it is when he was in Miami, he talked more about Spoelstra than he talked about other coaches. So just something to think about. Side note, and I guess because he's my boy and they didn't really give much of a tutelage to it, and I'm not concerned because it's not a big deal, but I think this might be Garnett's last season. I can see one more year, but if he does, he's really going to be limited to. I don't see him playing 10 minutes a night because he really didn't play a lot this year. I think he kind of wanted to treat his going away as like a fade into the sunset, and that's completely fine. I have no problem with that, but I just know you can kind of see it and kind of sense it coming. Few more NBA topics, and then I'm going to go ahead and get into the meat of my podcast that will probably take up a decent core amount of time on this podcast. So 2 coaches that have been with their respective teams for quite some time Randy Whitman with the Washington Wizards and Sam Mitchell with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Both got fired. It was coming. It was weird for the Wizards because they didn't make the playoffs this year. They were expected to make the playoffs this year. They really just kind of, I don't know if they hit a flat, if they caught a flat near the end of the season or what exactly happened, but it just did not go that way where they ended up finishing out like they should have. So I'm gonna close those two sections because that's pretty much spoken for and addressed. So now this is my favorite part of the season of the NBA, because now certain teams are in the playoffs, certain teams are out of the playoffs. The story as of right now is that what's my guy's name? Jason Kidd, his job is safe for right now. He's gonna still be with Milwaukee. Milwaukee had a good run, he just didn't close it out. That's the best way I can describe it. Because I mean, when you get down to like those last 10 games, you can't go into those 10 games and go 3-7. I don't know if that was the case of what they did, but I could see it being a factor as to why they either did make it or didn't make it. Same with Washington. Washington just, I mean, John Wall was an all-star. Not taking away from that. Not putting that aside. Not acting like it doesn't exist. But then the spin of it is you have to close out the important games. Now, I was being funny, but it's coincidental. Milwaukee really did go 3-7 in their last 10. And then to make it worse, they went on a 2-game losing streak. I mean, they already were kind of out of playoff contention for a while anyway, but to go 33-49, they had a much better prospect year, supposedly. I think next year is going to be interesting. Like, looking at teams in the NBA, it's a lot of teams who kind of have some gaps and some holes. Like, I think it's coincidental that they're keeping Kurt Rambis in New York, because a lot of people think that's a weird situation strictly because you have a lot of good quarterbacks, a lot of good coaches on the coaching block. Like, for instance, Mark Jackson. Hello. Everybody still feels like Mark Jackson should have got a ring from last year's championship, but we won't get into that either. But looking at how teams and where things are going, you got quite a few names and quite a few faces that still have a chance of just kind of doing some things. George Carr, he got fired from the Kings. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. It looks like Bickerstaff is still there, and I mean, obviously he's there because they're in the playoffs. They're gonna wait till after the playoffs is over and probably fire him. Just telling it like it is. Byron Scott, yeah, he stayed because it was Kobe, and I think if I'm not mistaken, him and Kobe. No, wait, hold on, because I don't like this. I think they played with each other, but I think I'm tempted to say I'm way off. Let's see. He was with the Lakers until 97. So he did get to play 1 year with Kobe until in 18. Yeah. Okay. Until he was the Lakers starting guard from 84 until 93, and then 96 and 97. The last year of his career, he went back to the Lakers to prove to be a valuable mentor to a team with Shaq, Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, and 18-year-old rookie Kobe Bryant. So yeah, I think they kept him there. And you have to put pieces together as to why things are done the way they are. So in that case, it was almost as though, okay, we're going to keep him here. No point in firing him in the middle of the season, because it's not going to really change or affect anything that extreme. But they went ahead and kept him on cue, and then as they saw fit, I think as they're going to see fit, once the offseason kind of gets a little intense, by the time playoffs is over, they'll relieve him of his duties. He may find another job in the NBA. If I was him, my personal input, I would go to college basketball coach. Sometimes college, like, and I'm saying this because this is a little bit of a side tangent, but it's just a legitimate conversation. Some players or some coaches have a better chance of doing more damage or more impact on the game in college than they do in the NBA. Because the NBA is not easy to coach in. If he were to come back now, like, I'm not even sure. Well, he's probably still living, but if Lenny Wilkens were to come back and coach a team, he could help any team win, bottom line. Because the last team he coached was the Knicks back in 04 and 05. So, I mean, granted, that's been over 10 years. I know he's not coming back. There's no need of me getting my hopes high about that. But just one of those things to think about. But 3 guys who are currently on the coaching carousel block who you probably hear get new homes or be coaching somewhere. Tom Thibodeau, Scott Brooks, Mark Jackson. One of those, if not all 3 of them, should be getting jobs next year. If Mark Jackson does not coach a team next year, something's wrong. It's some type of weird conspiracy in the NBA. I don't know. Not touching it. Not my fight. Nor my battle. So with that being said, like I said, we'll keep an eye on it as the league produces, as stories evolve. We'll get more into it. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes of my podcast about the NFL. Big news yesterday. Well, two pieces of big news. Number one, the Titans and the Los Angeles Rams, ready to call them St. Louis, Los Angeles Rams traded picks. So now the Rams will be getting the number 1 pick. The story of the word on the street is I just briefly got a glimpse at the story that they may be looking at getting the quarterback from California. Haven't really looked into that. Haven't gotten more. I got to get into my Adam Schefter mode because he gets some stories and you just like, wait, you still got that Blackberry still breaking these stories, dude? And but I mean, now this was back years ago. Like, he would get stories quicker than ESPN could even try to tell the story. So it's a good possibility that they're trying to go for a quarterback. It was coincidental because Washington gave their little ironic presentation about how they're trading picks. Big game that is going to get a lot of traction, and I don't think it's a televised game, is going to be the Browns and the Redskins, solely because you have 2 teams who have two it's going to be a unique situation because with Manziel still there currently, it's likely that they're going to have him starting pending on what all goes on with all of his foolishness. And just it should be a joy to just take in as far as football goes. So a few matchups that are key matchups, they released it already, and I kind of saw it and was pretty excited. They're doing a rematch of the Super Bowl between Carolina and Denver. It's going to be in Denver, so I think that's good. That'll be a good start for us, honestly, to play on the road. We don't deserve to be a home team. We played like crap. As a Carolina fan, I'm very direct and very honest. But yeah, they have the Broncos against Carolina. You have the Giants playing Cardinals, and then you have the Giants playing Cowboys, and then the Patriots playing the Cardinals. Interesting matchup this year for Thanksgiving will be the infamous Redskins Cowboys matchup. So it's a pretty good lineup this year for most of the games. I see they have the Broncos and the Texans, so that should be fun, with the Texans bringing in Osweiler, and that's a Monday Night Football game, so that's going to be interesting to see if he really is going to be playing up to standards and up to par with what they expect. Ravens and Patriots should be a huge matchup. That's on Monday Night Football as well. Thursday night has a pretty stacked lineup of games. Oakland and Kansas City, they're playing. Dallas and Minnesota, keep an eye on that game. The Bolts and the Broncos, I'm looking forward to that because I think, as far as I know, they haven't said anything crazy about Phillip Rivers going anywhere, anything changing. Of course, looks like the closeout week is a heavy week because they have Baltimore and Pittsburgh playing against each other. 2 teams that love to hate each other, so that should be a ball in itself. Trying to think if I missed any. I mean, those are like the main games that have occurred or that have happened that definitely sparked and drew attention. But I knew it was. I knew that one was going to be. I think the lineups and how they set up teams is as far as how they're going to be playing against each other. Overall, shouldn't be too bad. I can't project. I'm not going to project every team schedule. Not gonna happen, because I would have to look at every single team and every single matchup and see how every single one of them compete against each other. So I'm gonna be selfish, as I always do, and talk about. So I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna be blunt in one side and diverse in the other, and this is kind of gonna be my closeout. So we have, but before I do this story, I just saw this article, so I thought I'd share because it was on yesterday. They posted it yesterday. Even though Jared Allen properly rode off into the sunset, retired from football, he decided to go ahead and handle football the right way. He came back signed a one-day contract with the Vikings so he could retire as a Viking. Have absolutely no problem with that, because he pretty much only played majority of his career there, so I wouldn't knock him for that at all. I think things would have changed if he had won the Super Bowl in Carolina. That's neither here nor there, so we won't get into that at all. So I'm going to give my bold and balanced predictions on a few things. Number one, with the NBA playoffs being where they are, Golden State is playing against Houston. I'm a Houston fan. Sadly enough, I'm going to be honest. If we win 2 games, I'd be shocked, because Golden State is just going to play. They're going to play it just like they did last year. I think when Golden State played, it's pop filter, Lord Jesus. Anyway, when Golden State plays Houston, when they played against Houston last year, that was when the momentum picked up. They were already in a zone of playing good basketball anyway, but as time progressed, you could see that they really brought in like this legit focus of what they were trying to do, and I think it carried over once they got their game going and matchup set up. So, long story short, I give Golden State 4-1 or 4-2, but I'll honestly say 4-1 to be direct. Now, closing out with my team in the NFL, Carolina. Will Carolina go 15-1? Hell no. Telling it like it is, not even gonna play. As far as our schedule, from what I've looked at with Carolina's schedule, I'd give us 3, maybe 4 losses. On ESPN, we're projected to go 12-4. I'm okay with that. As far as just sports in general,
it's 9 o'clock.
Okay, thank you for that announcement. That just scared my daylight. I was not prepared for that. I have a feature on my Mac where it'll tell you the hour to remind you it's the top of the hour. So when it said it's 9 o'clock, I was like, oh, okay, thanks. Sorry. But anyway, taking a shot in the dark, I would say we should be able to win the division. The factor is going to be winning out of the 6 division wins. We can't lose more than 2 games. If we go 3-3 and think we're going to get in, the best we'll get in with is a wild card. Because that division always fluctuates. So, for us to win the division 3 years straight was unexpected. Yeah, I went there. Salty. But anywho, if you are listening or if you're a fan of football, present your ideas or your options of how far or how good you think your team's going to do. I'm not going to say we're going to Super Bowl again this year. I think we have a good chance of making a run, but it's a matter of how things come into play. I think the biggest thing this year, and I said this after we lost the Super Bowl and after everything went the way it did, Cam has to be media ready. If they don't prepare him for the media, there's not going to be a good chance of there being a phenomenal season this year. So just keep an eye on that. And like I said, give your thoughts, share your feelings, present how you feel, and speak on what you know. I have enjoyed doing this podcast. I am going to definitely be bringing more topics. I thought this one was more creative because I had a lot of stuff to get into. Running down to my final minute, so I'm gonna go aggro. Shout out to Grimecraft, appreciate the music in the background. Shout out to my Instagram, my Facebook friends, all of my social connects who have been supportive for me since day one. Keep listening, keep watching, keep tuning in. I got some ideas that I'm gonna be working on. Just have to see how it all pans out. I've enjoyed this. Be a blessing. Do not be a burden. Don't bring friction where it's not needed. And if you enjoy what you feel, speak on it. And if you ain't, let it be known too, because somebody got to know. Until next time, it's BT signing out. Check me out on Instagram, BryTay Podcast, BryTay82. Check me out on Facebook, BryTay Podcast, BryTay82. Twitter, BryTay82. And until next time, BT signing out. Peace.